we've been trying to figure out what exactly went wrong against San Francisco, and obviously we'll give the credit to San Francisco's a good team.
Never.
But also, you got to give them a little bit of credit. They are a good football team.
Have you met me?
The other part, though, is while we were watching this thing, Dak, everybody's like, Dak is bad. And then there were some, hey, offensive line wasn't great, too. What did you see with this offense that needs to kind of be picked up on?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think the Cowboys were one of the 6 best teams in the NFL this year, and one of 6 teams I thought had a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl. I think the other team that lost is the Bills. That would fit that category. And I was on the sideline in Buffalo, and those people are devastated. They were shocked. They thought this was their year. I mean, as upset as people are in the Metroplex,
for sure,
Buffalo had a home game in the snow, and they got worked. I mean, it's just they're like in shock. I got to be honest with you guys. Certainly in the first half, maybe even the first 3 quarters, I thought the Cowboys were the better team.
Yeah.
I mean, they were totally stuffing the Niners' run. They were flying around on defense. I'm not putting it all on Dak, but the interception at the end of the first half was at least a 6-point swing. It was, what was it, second down?
Yeah.
It was like 2nd and 4, I thought. It was second down. So it took points off the board for the Cowboys, and it enabled the Niners to have a chance to get points. You remember, when you have the ball at the end of the first half, you're really obviously trying to accomplish 2 things, right? Like, obviously you're trying to score, but the next best alternative to scoring is not letting your opponent score. The Cowboys did the exact opposite. So it's funny, I have a betting podcast, the Even Money podcast, and the guy was telling me, like, the Cowboys would have been heavily favored to win if they just got a field goal there at that point.
Yeah.
And instead, with the Niners getting a field goal, it went the other way. I mean, there's a lot of things we can get into about the O-line, about getting another weapon. Gallup was a disappointment. They're going to have to decide what they want to do up front. They have to figure out a way to get Pollard back. But, I hate to say it, because I'm actually a big supporter of his and fan of his. I don't like how he's always getting pooped on everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 interceptions by Dak were just devastating. I mean, just devastating, especially the one at the end of the first half. I think there's a pretty good chance it was the difference in the game. Although, listen, if you're the defense, you still, you can't let Kittle make that bobble catch. Somebody's got to be there to separate him from the ball. And you can't let the Niners kind of run down your throat in the fourth quarter either.
Now, I know on your podcast yesterday, you talked about the future of the Dallas Cowboys. I want to dive back into that in just a second. But I think it was on Monday. I was hoping you could tell us more about this because I'm curious how many of our listeners totally agree is the tweet, I'd fire Mike McCarthy and promote Dan Quinn rather than let him leave Dallas.
Yeah, so I think Dan Quinn's really good. And I think you could even make a similar argument for Kellen Moore.
Oh.
I don't know how you guys feel. I thought Kellen Moore was excellent this year.
People disagree.
I know they just lost. They only scored 12 points. Nobody ever likes the coordinator. Man, they had a lot of open receivers this year. When Dak came back, first of all, they won most of their games with Cooper Rush. Then Dak comes back. You guys, I'm sure, have the stats, but didn't they lead the NFL in, scoring and touchdowns after Dak came back from injury?
Yep.
I mean, and I'm looking at them. It's not like they're loaded at the skill guys. CeeDee Lamb is a good player. He's not like a top 5 receiver yet. They didn't get a whole lot. Now, T.Y. Hilton surprised me, but they don't really have a number 2. I think I'll be curious to see how Gallup is next year, a year removed from that injury. So that's something that they need to upgrade is the other weapon there on offense at receiver. Dalton Schultz, very solid tight end, but I don't know that he's a top 5 guy there either. I think Kellen Moore got a lot out of what they had. I mean, to think about all the interceptions Dak threw, and they don't have the same skill guys as the Niners or the Eagles, and to be the team that scores the most points, I think Kellen Moore is excellent. I don't think Kellen Moore is going anywhere, so I wouldn't worry about that as much. But Quinn is going to get offered a head coaching job.
Right.
The defense is pretty nasty. I guess you have to ask yourself, like, what would you rather have? Dan Quinn, for sure, and somebody Dan Quinn brings in on the defensive side of the ball, but he can still be kind of overseeing it and helping it with Kellen Moore as the OC, or do you want McCarthy to stay as the head coach and have to totally redo the defense?
Well, and I think there's, along the lines with Kellen too, I think there's an argument to be made that those offensive stats are inflated because the Cowboys led the league in forcing turnovers again, and advantageous field position was at play in at least a decent chunk of those offensive points.
Yeah, but that's countered by all the picks Dak threw.
Right.
You know, every turnover you get on defense, okay, that helps the offense, but Dak gave it up just as much, which hurt the offense because otherwise they could have scored more points on those drives.
On the defensive side of the ball, you talk about like what Dan Quinn built over there. I guess one of my biggest concerns, Ross, is that if you get another person in, the group that you put together on that side of the ball, it doesn't mean that that person, whoever the coordinator is, knows how to use them the same way that Dan Quinn does. How big of an adjustment is that when a new coach does come in?
Well, that's the concern. I mean, I don't know. Do they have a position coach who'd be a clear candidate for them to promote?
I think Joe Witt is kind of in the vein there as one of the ideas.
Okay. That's why we want to keep Dan Quinn, because he would probably just promote from within and you'd keep the same structure, and Dan Quinn could still be pretty hands-on as a defensive head coach. Plus, I don't really I don't think McCarthy is better than Dan Quinn as a head coach. Do you? I mean, I don't know. Dan Quinn got the Falcons to the Super Bowl. They had a 28-3 lead. I know they blew it, but Mike McCarthy got to one Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Dan Quinn got to one Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, and they didn't have nearly as much talent as the Packers had. I mean, the Packers were loaded after that Super Bowl with all that young talent when they had, even on defense, Clay Matthews and Woodson on offense, when they had Greg Jennings and Jermichael Finley. He only got them to one Super Bowl. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a Mike McCarthy hater. I'm really not. I think he's done a fine job there. I'm just saying, if I'm the owner of the Cowboys and I am trying to have the most success next year and the year after, I would rather have Quinn as head coach and know that I'm going to have something similar going defensively, as opposed to Quinn leaves and then there's a real chance you take a step back defensively. Even if you promote from within, you don't have Quinn kind of overseeing it.
Ross, we didn't get to share a beer with you after Peace-a-thon this year. Every year we do a 14-hour show to raise money for My Possibilities, and we know you came into town the night before Thanksgiving. Next time you swing through, let me know. I'll go share a beer with you anywhere, even if you want to go to Hop and Sting, whatever the place is. You just hit me up, okay?
I would love to.
Yeah,
heck yeah, let's do it.
That sounds great. Now, I did want to. We got this weekend going, Kevin. We got lots of football action.
We lost. I don't care.
Okay, are you done with it then?
No, I do care. I do.
Well, I did want to. You did kind of call him a Philadelphia fan.
I asked, are you a Philadelphia fan?
So I grew up like an hour west of Philly, so I grew up a huge Eagles fan. But then they never wanted me when I was a player. You know, I played for the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Bills, the Patriots, so it kind of annoyed me that they never wanted me. Now I do the preseason games. So there's two reasons why I would say I like when Philadelphia wins. I live back here again, right? So it's just everybody's an Eagles fans. It's just more fun when they win, right? Like all my buddies, family, and friends, they're all more into football. They all get excited. Plus, I do a lot of stuff for the Eagles. Like I do the preseason games on TV. So then each week I do like their NBC show. I do a lot of WIP radio. So I guess the best way to describe that would be I am financially incentivized for the Eagles to win. So yes, I like when the Eagles win. Plus, like last week against the Giants, I knew I was going to be on the sideline for Westwood One for one of the conference championship games. I don't want to fly to San Francisco. I want to just drive down the street to Philly, and I get paid the same either way. I'd rather just go to Philly and do that. So that's the thing that these guys don't realize. Like when they're out there on the field, forget the Super Bowl, forget the money. They are playing for Ross Tucker's personal logistics. I mean, that is what's at stake in these games.
With that in mind, I probably can't convince you to say I like when the Eagles lose then, right?
No, of course you like when the Eagles lose.
No, I want you to say that. I probably can't convince you to say that, right?
Oh, no, I would never say that. Why would I say that?
To amuse me.
Yeah. Hey, Ross.
No, definitely not.
Hey,